Well, g'day and welcome to the channel. In today's video, I'm getting to use the brand new camera from Panasonic. What is it? It's the G9 Mark II. This is my first ever time using Panasonic, so I was thrilled when they reached out to me and they said, Duade, would you be interested in trying out our brand new G9 and 100 to 400 lens that I have here? Before I take photos, I quickly want to share why I'm excited about this camera, why Panasonic decided to send to me, and why this might be a good wildlife camera. First, it's got a brand new 25 megapixel dual gain micro four thirds sensor. What a mouthful. What that means is that we get that nice field of view bump. This is a 400mm lens, which means it looks like 800mm on a full frame. Just makes your subjects much bigger, and that's amazing. The camera is capable of, believe it or not, 60 frames per second continuous and raw, and it can take 200 shots in its initial burst, which is great. However, unfortunately, it is SD cards. It doesn't use CF Express B, so we're going to be limited by the speed of that SD card, which is going to slow it down, and I suspect it's going to take a little while to clear that buffer. It also has an updated autofocus system, and I'll put on the screen what they've told me. What they have now is proper eye tracking for birds, wildlife, and it works similar to Nikon, Canon, etc. So I'm excited to see how good the eye autofocus is, and hopefully it'll track the subjects and allow us to get some nice sharp shots. The body feels great, sits in the hand. It's based on the Panasonic S5 II, so if you've used that camera, you'll be quite familiar. I like how it feels, to be honest, and we'll see how we go through the day. Obviously, you can watch plenty of other videos for the full details on the specs, but what we're interested in is taking photos. So let's do that. Oh, you guys should have told me there's a bird right behind me. And the bird I'm here to photograph is the eastern yellow robin, and that's it over there. So he's just caught himself a meal. So let's try and get a photo of that and see how the autofocus performs. So I'll put my monitor on top so I can record that. I'll do that now. We'll try and take some photos. All right, so I am waiting for the eastern yellow robin to come onto the log in front of me. I'm using full area AF. It's like Canon's IAF. That is, the camera's going to look for the subject, and then if it detects the bird, hopefully it'll go onto its eye, and then we'll be able to track it and take photos. I'm shooting in 20 frames per second, am I? Yep, 20 frames per second. 60 is just a little bit too much for me. Just got to wait for the subject, and then we'll take some photos. Oh, he's back. Here he is. He's here. There he is. Oh, the autofocus struggled a little bit just to pick him up. Oh yeah, once it's on it, it's sticking to the eye really well. There we go. Oh, beautiful. So the eye tracking is actually pretty good. It sticks to the subject, followed it around. I had a bit of trouble finding it when it first landed. It just was struggling a little bit to find it. And that's not necessarily this camera. Some cameras struggle, but especially if the subject's out of focus, the camera just can't see it. Give us your chest, mate. Yes, yes. Oh, this is stunning. Oh. Oh, what a beautiful bird. This is just one of our many colourful robins in Australia. This is the eastern yellow robin. I've photographed them a few times recently, but I just can't get enough of their beautiful yellow on their chest. Absolutely stunning. The mosquitoes are crazy at the moment. So that was our first session with that robin. I'm sure I got lots of good shots, and hopefully you could see there, even though we're at a f6.3, which is an f13 depth of field, you can still get that background separation if you've got nothing directly behind your subject. I go on about it, but if you want to isolate that subject, nothing directly behind, you'll get those sort of backgrounds. So overall, that was a pretty good first session. Immediately noticed there's a little bit of lag in the viewfinder with the bird moving, and the other thing was that it struggled a little bit to detect the bird straight away. Once it was on the bird, it just stuck to it like glue, which is fantastic. It just tracked it extremely well. So the tracking seems to be pretty good so far. Let's see if we can't find something else to photograph. Okay, so that was interesting. I had a Dusky Woodswallow land on this branch over here. I've walked towards it, it's flying off, but if you see a bird on a perch, it's likely they'll return. So I actually stood on this old dead branch, waited. The Woodswallow came back, and I've tried to focus on it, and the camera couldn't pick it up. It just focused on the tree in the background, and then I tried to put it into one area, and it couldn't focus. I ended up having to focus on the tree branch at the bottom, to pull focus, and then I could do it. I've struck this before on other mirrorless bodies, but it seemed quite bad there. But we did get some shots, so hopefully they turned out all right. Now, I think Panasonic have a feature near and far focus. I could have probably pulled that and it would have pulled me back. That's my fault there. I probably missed a couple of shots because I didn't have the camera set up properly. That was pretty incredible. So I spotted a little yellow-footed Antechinus just running up this log, and it's run into a hollow, and I've engaged the tracking, and unbelievably it found that little marsupial. There was grass around. You can see the footage of the viewfinder. That's pretty incredible. Props there. It's found it. It's gone to the eye. It's not the best photo in the world because it's a bit messy. Just goes to show how good that tracking is though once it finds the subject. Okay, so I just had an incredible experience with a yellow-footed Antechinus. So I've just gone for a bit of a wander and just keep your eyes open. That's what I do. I sort of just stand still, wait, and then I saw movement across the ground, and I've seen it climb up this dead branch, and unbelievably it started to have a nap right in front of me, just in this tree branch. So I've obviously used the tracking, and the tracking, as you can see, goes directly onto that eye, and we've taken a few photos. And it's a really important tip is to, once you've got a subject like that that's not moving, it's important that you move left, right, up, down, just to change the composition. So even though that subject was in that one spot, I actually took a number of different shots and they all look slightly different. I underexposed a couple, overexposed a couple. So with one subject, I probably got 4 or 5 different types of shots that I can then look at afterwards and pick the one that I like the best. So that was just an incredible experience. All right, so I've had a bit of fun in the bush. We've got a number of photos. The tracking works well when it's on the subject. Not as good to find the bird or the subject. It seems to struggle if it can't see it. So you're probably going to need to use manual focus, or you're going to have to use the near or far focus buttons to sort of get onto that subject. It's a bit of a concern. Hopefully it can improve with firmware, but we'll head out tomorrow morning and see how it performs at the wetlands and try and get some bird in flight and different things. So let's look forward to that. I'll see you then. Well, g'day and good morning. Day 2. I'm at my favourite wetlands. There's a tree here full of cormorants. There's pelicans flying around. There's egrets. It's just absolutely alive. Makes it worth getting up at 4 AM in the morning and driving out here. The sun hasn't come up yet. It's about 6 degrees. Spring has definitely arrived here in Australia, and the birds just everywhere doing their thing, which is great to see. Obviously I'm excited to see how the Panasonic goes this morning. We've got a bit of low light. I saw some kangaroos as I drove in, and the 2 males were play fighting, so I filmed a bit of that and I took a few shots. Very low ISO, so we'll see how they came out. So I'm just trying to frame up this cormorant tree and sort of hoping for some, oh here we go. Wanting some sort of action, some sort of movement, some birds landing or something to happen would be ideal. It's just a matter of looking for shapes and trying to get something. All right, I'm just trying to walk around and make a composition. So I just had some pukekos walking around the bottom here, and I was just taking some shots into the sun. I've spotted a spoonbill and some egrets, so I'm going to try and walk around and get close to them, see how we go. I put my jacket on because I'm likely to get a bit wet. I've spotted this egret on the other side of the lake. Got pelicans flying around. See these egrets, I'm going to get down and crawl towards them and see how I go. So I've got down nice and low, crawling my way towards these egrets, trying to isolate one if I can. Whoa, pelicans, look at them all. There's a blue-billed duck. I haven't photographed one of these in a very long time. And he's here, it's a male, so he's got the blue bill. He's just over here. All right, so I've finished my 2 sessions, and what's my overall feeling? What's my very first impression? Look, it's actually pretty good. I love the size. That's probably one of the biggest pluses. Is I like the feel of the body. It feels fantastic in my hand. The lens is so light, it's ridiculous. You can handhold, bird in flight, just absolutely fantastic. It gives you lots of reach, which is what I know a lot of people want. 800 millimeters field of view in this package, very, very attractive. You've got 20 frames per second, 60 frames per second if you need it. The eye tracking definitely works once it locks onto the subject. So there's lots to like about this. And I will do a review breaking down and comparing it to the Olympus and different things. But this video was just my first impression. And so lots and lots of positives. The negatives, I've already mentioned them. I'm having trouble with initial priority, especially in busy scenes. So against a blue sky, it's absolutely fine. No drama picking up the subject. As soon as the scene gets busy, it seems to get confused and doesn't pick up the subject as quickly as I would like, and I'm having to use spot autofocus or maybe even manual focus. So a lot of mirrorless cameras struggle with that, but this one is struggling just like them to pick up that subject. A few inconsistencies, like sometimes I've focused on the bird and then the focus, it's like EVF flag or something, it's just hasn't jumped onto it straight away, it's sort of moved around. If you shot at 60 frames per second, you'd get those first 200 and then you're gonna have to wait for ages before it clears. It doesn't appear that you can take photos once the buffer is clearing like Canon, and you can't switch to video similar to Canon if you're already shooting. So would have preferred that CF Express B card. Obviously that would have bumped the price up. Speaking of the price, I'll put it on the screen here. I think it's $1,900 US, which means it's under 2,000, which is not a bad price for a camera that delivers these sort of specs. I don't think it's going to have a lot of rolling shutter issues. I don't know the readout of this sensor. I'll do some tests, pair it with the Olympus so we can get a better idea in the review. But so far so good. Thanks to Panasonic for sending it to me. I'm very appreciative. I've had a lot of fun, just a wonderful couple of days, and I'll continue using it. If you've got any questions about Panasonic or you've got any tips for me, put them in the comments, whether that's autofocus or how you set up the camera. I'll be curious to know. And again, I want to stress pre-production model. It's not the final firmware, so always take that into account. Obviously, if you enjoyed the video, give it that thumbs up. Subscribe if you want to see more of these videos. And if you want to continue to support me, consider becoming a member for the price of less than a cup of coffee per month. You get a cool little emoji next to your name in the comments. You'll see lots of my beautiful members down there already, and you get access to my 2023 digital calendar. So until the next video, thanks for watching. Take care. Happy birding. See you later.